All right, welcome. Today we are diving into a really fascinating and, I gotta say, incredibly detailed model of the world. Now, our goal here isn't to endorse it or to debunk it. It's just to understand the logic of a theory that was built to solve one very specific, very tricky puzzle. And this, right here, this is that puzzle. You see, the source material we're looking at today points out that a 24-hour sun in Antarctica is a massive challenge for most flat Earth models. It's an observation that a lot of theories really struggle with, and the model we're about to explore was designed specifically to give an answer. So here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll look at the puzzle itself. Then, we'll get into the core concept of a dual system Earth. From there, we'll see how that totally redraws the map's poles, re-examine the sun itself, and then we'll put all those pieces together to finally solve that 24-hour daylight question. Okay, so let's get right into it. The source is pretty clear on this. Trying to deny the 24-hour sun in Antarctica, that's a tough spot for many flat Earth proponents because, well, it's an observable fact. So instead of denying it, this model tries to build a framework where that fact not only makes sense, but it's actually a necessary part of how the whole system works. So what's the big solution here? What's the fundamental idea? It's that the Earth isn't just one single unified system. Instead, the creator calls it a dual system or a split cell. And seriously, this one idea is the foundation that everything else is built on. So what in the world is a split cell system? The source gives us a really powerful way to think about it. The two hemispheres of the human brain, right? They're distinct, they have different properties, but they're fundamentally connected to make a whole person. This model suggests the Earth works in a very similar way. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. Look at how this slide breaks down the differences. The northern hemisphere is described as being centralized, having a strong force, and stars that are imperishable. But the southern hemisphere, it's a mirror image, but with a weaker force, and its stars are said to perish or disappear with the seasons. Two halves of a whole, but they've got totally different personalities, so to speak. Okay, so if you've got two completely distinct systems, then your standard map of magnetic poles just isn't going to cut it. The real innovation here is to redraw the whole thing completely. Let's see how that works. First up, and this part's pretty straightforward, the very center of the map, the Arctic, that's a magnetic North Pole. Simple enough. It acts as the central, strong anchor for the entire system. But here's where things get really different. According to the source, there isn't just one South Pole. Instead, you have these gaps between the northern and southern systems, this tropical ring, and those act as opposing magnetic South Poles. And this is the crucial twist. That outer rim, the Antarctic perimeter, is also a magnetic North Pole. It's a mirror of the one at the very center. So get this. You have a North Pole in the middle and a North Pole all the way at the edge. The source creator sums this whole idea up with a very simple but really powerful phrase, that pole is that pole. It just perfectly captures this idea of a mirrored relationship where the big, spread-out North Pole in Antarctica is fundamentally the same as the concentrated one up in the Arctic. With the Earth's structure totally redefined, the next piece of this puzzle is the sun. Because in this model, the sun is not what we think it is. It is not a physical object moving through the sky. The most important point here is that the sun we see is a projection. The source compares it to a clock. You see the hand moving around, but the real mechanism, the gears, the engine, that's hidden away at the center. This model says there's a true, unseen sun at the central vortex, and what we experience is just its projected image. And this projected sun, well, it has some very unique properties. For one, it follows the Earth's magnetic field lines. And since it's a projection, it can technically appear in many places at the same time. Crucially, the image we see is described as personal. It only appears within our own arc of horizon. The model even suggests there are two main sun projections, one for the north and one for the south. All right, now we have all the pieces, the dual Earth, the redefined poles, and the projected sun. Let's bring it all together and see how this model finally explains that 24-hour sun in Antarctica. The key mechanic that makes it all work is something the source calls the magnetic field flex. You can honestly think of it like the planet is breathing. Over the course of a year, these dual magnetic fields expand outwards and then contract back inwards. And this seasonal flex is what moves that projected sun. So during the Northern Hemisphere's summer, The model says the fields are in their up and in phase. Everything contracts, it pulls in toward the center. This concentrates the sun's projected light over the central Arctic region, and boom, that's how you get 24-hour daylight there. Then, for the southern hemisphere's summer, the complete opposite happens. The fields enter the down and out phase. They expand to their maximum possible size, pushing all that energy and the projection of the sun outwards toward the Antarctic perimeter. And this just brilliantly illustrates the model's elegant solution. In this maximum down and out state, the projected sun isn't in one little spot. It illuminates the entire outer perimeter. The source calls this infinite light across the horizon. So for an observer standing anywhere on that Antarctic rim, the result is a sun that never, ever sets. The puzzle is solved all within the model's own logic. But this model doesn't just stop at explaining the sun. The source presents it as a much broader framework, one that tries to connect its unique physics to ancient wisdom and symbolism. The creator links these ideas to esoteric readings of ancient wisdom. For example, that whole dual nature of the Earth is constantly compared to the two halves of the brain. You'll also see analogies drawn from Egyptian lore and Aboriginal stories. So it's presented as more than just a map. It's really an attempt at a unified theory of physics, consciousness, and ancient symbolism, the whole shebang. So to sum it all up, what we've just walked through is an incredibly intricate and complex model. It was born from the need to solve a very specific astronomical puzzle. And it does so by completely reimagining the structure of the Earth, the poles, and the sun, weaving it all together into a unique theory of physics mixed with interpretations of ancient knowledge. And that leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? Regardless of whether you agree with the conclusions, the sheer ambition here is undeniable. It makes you wonder, what does it take to build a model that doesn't just explain one thing, but seeks to explain everything?